Cruise news time. Well, it's cruise day for me, but I've woken up to some disturbing headlines. Hundreds of passengers stuck at sea. Will it happen to me? Cruise news. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. Well, happy Sunday. It is Sunday the 16th. Sunday the 16th of January, and it's cruise day for me. I've got to check in for my Harmony of the Seas cruise at 1:30 today. And I am not in Port Canaveral. I'm about 2.5 hours from Canaveral. And so I've made the decision to drive over. Now, it's pouring rain right now. It's deluge. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. Can you hear it in my voice? And look, I'm just finishing up, ready to make the drive. Going to try to get over there in a reasonable amount of time. And the headlines are freaking me out this morning. Passengers stuck at sea. I couldn't go without sharing it with you. And then also, I wanted to tell you about what my concerns were. I am cruising today. I'm going in eyes wide open, and I wanted to kind of tell you where my concern level is at, what I think the worst scenario could be. So that's the show today. But first, let's jump over to the computer and see if we can sort out this stuck at sea scenario. All right, here we go. Let's start with USA Today. Turning into a nightmare, Norwegian cancels sailings mid-cruise, passengers to be stuck at sea for days. What? All right. Amy F. boarded the Norwegian Gem on Sunday for her 10-day birthday cruise from New York. But the celebration, it ended Thursday when Norwegian let passengers know that the cruise would be canceled due to COVID-related issues. By Friday evening, she learned that they were staring down several days at sea with no early return, even though the cruise had been canceled. She told USA Today, "We will arrive per schedule on the 19th in the morning." She played a recording for USA Today that said they would arrive back on their normal return date, the 19th. Without the islands and the ports to break up the sea days, this is turning into a nightmare. I really can't imagine 4 more sea days back to back without so much to do. That's what she told USA Today. She recounts the story of how they skipped the calls at Grand Turk, St. Thomas, and Tortola. The article goes on to say that USA Today reached out to Norwegian. Norwegian said they would be returning shortly, but what we know from other reports and what Amy herself said is that they will be returning on their regular day. What they don't make clear in the beginning of this article is once their cruise was canceled, they were given a 100% refund for that cruise and also a 50% future cruise credit of the value of what they paid for that cruise. Wow, nightmare. Article number 2 from NBC News. Passengers stuck at sea after Norwegian cancels Caribbean cruise mid-voyage due to COVID-19. Norwegian Cruise Line canceled its Caribbean trip mid-voyage due to COVID-19, leaving travelers stuck at sea until the ship returns to New York. The Gem was on a 10-day sail, but was canceled when the ship docked at Phillipsburg, St. Martin. Then NBC picks up the Amy F. story from the USA Today article where they go through her nightmare of being stuck at sea for 4 more days. Now, fortunately, NBC also gives a little bit of a counterpoint to that, quoting a seasoned traveler, Anthony B., talking about how the last-minute changes weren't that unexpected because cruising during a pandemic. They also talk about the refund that the passengers are getting, and then they talk about how Royal Caribbean has called off their Spectrum of the Seas cruise that was set to leave on January the 6th after 9 passengers were exposed to an earlier sailing to COVID. Spectrum of the Seas sailing in Hong Kong. So they don't mention that in this article. Then we also have this headline on the Hill: passengers stuck at sea after Norwegian cancels mid-cruise voyage. And they also use USA Today as the source article, the Amy F. story. And they also talk about their arriving back at their normal date on the 19th. They have the same quotes. There you go. So look, there it is. The Norwegian Gem, we've talked about it for a couple days. We talked about the cancellation. We talked about them returning back on their normal date. We talked about it yesterday that now this is a cruise with no ports, like many cruises we've seen over the past couple weeks. Cruise lines skipping ports. This is essentially a cruise to nowhere. Well, they'll have 10 days on the ship, and then they will return back to New York. Now, look, I'm trying to do the math in my head. I don't know if I have enough fingers and toes. It is early in the morning, but each of these stories do seem to indicate that the cruise ship is in motion, making its way back to New York. It does not seem from this reporting that anybody is stuck at sea. So I feel a little better after reading the articles. I read the headline and I was like, oh no, is this like the Carnival Triumph? Have they lost power? Are they stuck at sea? But in reality, they're just, it's just a 10-day cruise with no ports. So, okay. Fair enough. It's a good headline. It does open up a good conversation for us here in the cruising community. What do you think about this? Which would have been better? Which would have been better in this scenario? So Norwegian, 5 days in, they cancel because they're not going to go to any of the ports of call. And at first they indicate that they may go back to New York early, cutting the cruise short. They're giving everybody a 100% refund. They're giving everybody a future cruise credit up to 50% off of what they paid. Which would have been better? Just going back to New York as soon as possible, or keeping the schedule and dropping everybody off at the normal time? Would it bum you out to have 4 more sea days before you got back to New York? Because it's certainly bumming out Amy F. And no shade on Amy F. We all have our own individual feelings toward things, and she expected to go to some ports, and now she got 10 sea days, and she may not be down with 10 sea days, and that's fair. But sadly, Amy F. is being paraded around by these news organizations, and she's just one person out of hundreds. But look, that's not the end of the story. I do want to tell you about a few things that I'm concerned about for my cruise that is leaving today. But before we get there, let me quickly invite you to subscribe if you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising. If you want somebody to break down these difficult headlines, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Thank you in advance. We're trying to get to 18 million subscribers. That would help us if you would subscribe with the notification bell. Okay, my concerns for my cruise today. So I'm going in eyes wide open. I did my COVID test. I tested negative. So now I feel pretty comfortable about embarkation. I feel like I'm going to get on the cruise ship without much issue. Now, once I'm on the cruise ship, the question becomes, will we make our port stops, and will all the services on board be available? Particularly for me, I'm super interested in seeing the Aqua Show, and I'm super interested in seeing Greece. So my trepidation, my concern right now is, will those 2 shows happen on the cruise? Fingers crossed. Then I did book excursions in St. Martin and St. Thomas. If it happens, it happens. It wouldn't bum me out too bad if those ports got canceled. I would be fine staying on board. The third thing is, I'm curious as to what the capacity is and how packed in we're going to be. I'm interested to see how many people are on the cruise ship. I actually think there's not going to be a lot of people on the cruise ship, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like to be on an Oasis class cruise ship without many people. And then finally, probably the biggest concern, I shared that article with you guys last week of the comedian that was quarantined in an inside cabin for most of her cruise. The couple times that I read through that article, the more I'm like, that doesn't seem like that would be fun. So that's a risk that we're running here. We could get on the cruise ship, could start feeling bad, and all of a sudden be isolated for the entirety of the cruise. I'm hoping that does not occur, but you never know. Because we're cruising during a pandemic, we'll have to see. Boom, that's your cruise news. Hundreds of passengers stuck at sea, in motion, making their way back to where they started from on a timely fashion, stuck at sea. What do you think? Would you be bummed out if they cut your cruise short and didn't take you back early? I guess that's actually the story. Leave a comment below. Thanks so much for checking out the show today. Please show your support by hitting the like button. And if you fail to hit the like button, you shall be punished. And your punishment will be, you will be stranded at sea. During the normal length of your cruise. I can't get over it, I'm sorry. Stranded at sea, stuck at sea. This is Tony for Lido, Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido.